Welcome to the Growth Fan Podcast, the only B2B sales podcast with proven strategies, tools and tactics for selling into construction, FM and property management. I'm your host Matt Harris, the creator behind the Growth Fan.
Okay, that sounds really good. For smaller businesses, when they approach you, what seems to be their biggest stumbling block?
So sometimes it is actually mindset, and I'm very lucky because what I'm qualified in is what I sell. So that's obviously a plus point, isn't it? So I've got that skill set and I have that confidence to be able to go out and I'm happy to talk to anyone and do it. But if you are a cleaning company and what you're really good at is understanding how cleaning jobs work and all your products and how long it takes to clean a hotel room or a bar or a restaurant, that's brilliant. But it might be that sales isn't something you're particularly comfortable with, and that's where the challenge comes. And I think then it's easy as a small business owner to avoid the things you don't enjoy, and we've called it sort of the magpie approach, where you sort of see these new shiny things and you go and do those as opposed to avoiding and doing the things that really are going to make your business grow. So I think one of the challenges is around it isn't their skill set, and some of it is around mindset. People really struggle with no. People don't want to be told no.
Yeah.
It's really personal as well. They think that they're saying no to you as an individual. They're not. You might have just spoken to them at the wrong time, might be already in contract, and they're just not interested. So I think that's the hard thing. It's that sort of resilience that people are lacking. And I think if you're not sure what you're doing, you'll lack confidence. And if you lack confidence, you don't really want to do it.
That's true.
Because no one wants to make a fool of themselves. Some people
but some people it's more off a duck's back. They'll just dive straight in. I know for me it was always a challenge when I started my cleaning business, making cold calls. I used to hate picking up the phone because I wasn't really aware of any other process at that time. So picking up the phone and knowing already that it's going to be a no, that kind of it affects your tone. It affects, I guess, the language that you use. It affects the approach that you take to the call. And I know I wasn't the only one who was faced with that challenge. What sort of tips or what sort of direction do you give business owners that do have that as the sort of biggest stumbling block?
So I think it's important to have a plan. If you just think, I need more customers, then you're just going to go at it in a scattergun approach. Whereas if you actually put together a plan of, right, who is my target audience? I ask people this all the time in workshops that we run and say, okay, so who's the target audience? And what they will say is, anyone can buy our service. That isn't the question. Anyone can buy your service, but who you actively want to spend time and money trying to win is your target audience. So it's understanding who it is that you're trying to go after. Is it a particular industry sector? Is it a size? So if you're a cleaning business, it might be that you think that your niche is pubs, or it's restaurants, or it's leisure facilities or entertainment places. Or it might be that you're trying to get into the B&B or hotel market. So once you know that, then you can start sort of building up an ideal target client list. And then you need to think about what's your proposition. So what service are you selling? What makes you stand out from someone else? And you need to have all of that stuff in your toolkit before you even think of sending an email, picking up the telephone. And I always say to every customer that we talk and work with is you've kind of got to have all those processes in place before you start. So you also have to think about, so if you do have a conversation with someone, they might say, okay, so send me some details. Or it might be that they're interested and you need to take them through the sales stages. If you haven't documented what your sales stages are, like what happens next? And then it sort of falls down and then you get busy and then you forget to do it. And before you know it, that quite warm opportunity has gone cold, because if you phone them back in 2 or 3 weeks' time, they won't even remember your name.
Yeah, that's very true.
Really quickly. I think if you have those things in place, you're going to make you feel much more confident about your approach. And I'm not a fan of scripts. For me, scripts are an absolute no-no, but I do think what you can have is bullet points of things that you want to do, and also to the points that you want to get across, the questions that you want to ask those customers. What are you trying to find out? You have a list of qualifying questions. So you need to understand, are these customers a good fit? Just because you think they're a good fit, you know, anyone, it can be on your target list, but then you've got to refine it down to work out really whether is someone that you're interested in doing business with. You don't want to spend half an hour trying to win a customer and getting them to the next stage to then go, actually, they're not really a good fit. They're really price driven. And actually, it's a price we're not willing to go. So I think you also have to learn how to say very politely, thank you, but no thank you.
That's it, especially for cleaning business owners. When you start, you'll say yes to anything and everything. But there comes a point where, like you said, I think once you've identified your ideal clients and you've sort of honed in on a niche, you do need to get to a point where you do start saying no, because, you know, the service or the client that's being offered to you is just doesn't fit in with who you're going after and how your business eventually is going to get set up, right, to serve this particular client or these types of clients. So no is a hard word to say for sure. Do you use sequences? Do you have like your LinkedIn outreach mapped out the same as you would with your email sort of drip campaign?
So sequences can be really good. And I mean, you mentioned that you use HubSpot. And so HubSpot, for example, can do sequences. I think you have to be careful with sequences around when I'm doing, like, for example, a video message. I wouldn't do a generic video message. I would do a, hi, I want to talk to you at the Growth Lab about how we can help you. So I would make it very personal rather than generic. But when you do sequences, you can just allow for that video to be made as a personal one, and the other stuff can automatically and can be in place. But a sales playbook is all about sequences. It's about when you're going to do stuff, at what stage, and what information goes into that stage. What tools are you going to need to be able to do it? But it plays a massive part. If you just try and wing it, you're going to end up stopping and starting with your prospecting, because then you're like, oh, now I've got to write an email, or now I've got to build this, or now I've got to do a case. I haven't even got that case study. I said, I'm going to send a case study. I don't even have one. So if you do that prep and have things ready, as soon as you start prospecting, you just then keep the momentum going. And I always encourage people, try and do a little bit of prospecting every day, because you get momentum going. And the more you do it, the easier you'll feel it will be. If you save it up to be a job that you do once a month, and that day is fast approaching, you'll just be dreading it. Because if it's not something you enjoy doing, you will put it off, and there'll always be something way more exciting than doing the prospecting. But it's essential for any business. If you aren't prospecting, it doesn't matter how busy you get. Continue when a contract's going to drop out. And you always got to have people warmed up and lined up, ready to fill that place.
Build that pipeline. Well, I was reading New Sales Simplified, a book which says break it into thirds. Spend a third of your time focusing on building your lists and getting new contacts. A third of your time retouching the people who you've already reached out to once, and a third of your time on the hot leads where there's a good chance that they'll develop into an opportunity. And if you allocate 45 minutes, 60 minutes, an hour and a half, if you've got it a day, to kind of focusing on doing that, like you say, you build up momentum, and before you're going to have a big old lead list for one, but which is just potential opportunities for you to win new business. Do you recommend? You mentioned emails and people having 150 emails in their inbox, and we use cold email a lot. Is that an approach that you recommend, or have
I think
seen?
A blend of everything. I think you need to be doing a bit of everything. You need to be doing the emails, you need to be doing the calling, and you also need to be doing your activity on LinkedIn. And when I say activity on LinkedIn, it isn't just liking other people's posts. That doesn't count as LinkedIn activity. It's not going to help you when it comes to grow your business. So for me, I think absolutely email still plays a valid part in what you're doing, because not everyone is on LinkedIn. Not everyone is on Facebook. Not everyone likes to take calls. I always joke, I've got a 12-year-old son, and when I call him, he looks at the phone. I can imagine him looking at the phone, and then he sort of says to me, why are you calling me? And because that's not his preferred preference. He wants a WhatsApp, a Snapchat, or or whatever. He doesn't want me to use the phone as a phone. So as we get older and our target audience gets younger, we have to factor some of that in, that not everyone likes to be contacted through the telephone or through LinkedIn. It's fine.
And I guess
platform, understanding your target audience.
You mentioned automation. I'm a big fan of automation. Where do you find sort of SMBs, like how can I phrase this? Do they generally tend to adopt automation, or are they still working not so much pen and paper, but Excel spreadsheets?
I think there are still some out there that like their Excel spreadsheets and keep their entire database held in an Excel spreadsheet. But more and more people, there is free access to things like CRM systems. So where you hold your customer relationship management system, where you hold all your client data and all the interactions that you have with them, and you could even put your quotes in there and all the emails that happen to them.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Real Fair Podcast, make sure you hit that follow button on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or hit that subscribe button on YouTube to get early access to the next episode. And if you want weekly B2B sales tips sent directly to your inbox, make sure you subscribe to the Real Fair newsletter on Substack via the link in the episode description. Until next time, stay grounded.